Hello, this is Anders Dimblad in Kuala Lumpur, chatting to Renae and her fantastic global podcast, Where To From Here, about the future of luxury travel.
Studies are showing that wellness is going to be a huge, highly sought after commodity in the future in terms of luxury travel. What's your take on that, and what are Banyan Tree doing to capture that market?
I think wellness is definitely an evolving market. It's something that we're focusing a lot on as a group and as different properties. We've created wellness rooms, which is not just how we've decorated or redecorated the room inventory. It's also offering guests who choose or book these wellness rooms, wellness lifestyle, from the food to experiences, whether it's gym, yoga, or stretching, or even to going to visit different places within the cities or resorts that they are at. So all more rounded experience. I think a lot of people naturally who are not necessarily into wellness, they still have this sort of perhaps not fear, but their initial viewpoint is that, oh, it must be something to do with yoga, or it has to be something with good or healthy food that I'm not going to enjoy. Where I think it's become so much more, and it's become almost like a movement to really nurture not just your body in terms of your health, but also your mind. And I think that the mindset is the one for me is the most important, especially when you're coming out of, or now that the world is coming out of COVID. So much focus has always been on the lack of travel, or the people being away from family and loved ones and separated, and the challenges, of course, of the effects that it's had on a lot of people, and naturally the illnesses. But I think a lot of people haven't really talked a lot about how we as colleagues, or we as people who've missed that opportunity to connect in person, that personal touch, something that a lot of our generations have never experienced. And I think that mental wellness is very, very important. And I'm glad that we do a lot of work, obviously, with that in terms of your well-being. Here in the hotels, even for our associates, we do a well-being Wednesday every week. And that can be from enhancing your sleep to educating about dietary, to doing a workout together, just small things, because we want the team to have that also understanding. So it's not just a sort of gimmick or a USP that we're offering. It's something that we wholly believe in, and that the guests, when they come and experience it, the associates can explain from their own experience and from their own being, which for me is great, because you don't want to sell something that you don't believe in, or that you're not part of, or that you don't understand. And it's not selling, it's just really wanting to make people and guests have that true experience.
I wanted to ask you, Anders, what do you personally do for your own well-being?
Well, I ride a motorbike.
That's not good.
Of course, my family is my savior. I always say that without my family, I have nothing. And that's also the family of the people of the hotel. It's just, being able to come home. I'm so blessed that every evening, even if my children are asleep at night, because obviously in our industry we work very many hours, just knowing that they're there, or that I don't think anything can beat that. In that aspect, I'm so blessed. And just remaining positive, celebrating the small victories. It doesn't have to be anything big. We made one guest happy today. Let's celebrate that. We have to continuously always focus on the positive. There's too much negativity in this world, I believe, unfortunately. And it's very easy to get in that sort of snowball effect. So I always say that we celebrate every little victory we can, and we focus on the positive, and we move forward.
And tell me about Ho Kwon Ping. I hope I've pronounced that properly. He, of course, is the founder of Banyan Tree. He has an incredible story. Is he involved in the business now? Tell us about him.
Very much so. The entire family are all involved in within the property, or within the group, I should say. They take a lot of pride in it, which is great for us. And to be honest, all family, KP, as he's affectionately known within the group, Madam Claire, his wife, and now the daughter Renyung, who are also taking charge of our brand. All of them are very approachable, and they're very in it. it's actually one of our great things we always talk about amongst our associates whenever we have new associates coming on board. We have online trainings, and they're so involved in it that not so micro involved, but in the macro sense that, it's very rare that you have an opportunity as, a middle management person to meet the founder of your organization, let alone sit in Zoom meetings with them or have that opportunity whenever we have, or when we've had the opportunity to have on-site meetings or on-site visits or on-site trainings, whether in Phuket or in any of our sister properties. They would always come and they'd always make an appearance, and they still do. So they're very, very heavy into it. And I mean, we also know you can pick up a phone. They're very, very approachable. And I think that true core from the head all the way down is what sort of leads us as a group.
Yeah, absolutely. And they started the business almost by accident. I was reading about it, right? That they had a property that they inherited and it wasn't near a beach and they needed to have a point of difference and decided to create villas and a spa. Is that the story?
Yeah, they were looking for something. I believe the original story, they were living in Lama Island, and they were sitting in Banyan Bay and sitting underneath a tree and enjoying the breeze and the love. And they found property in Phuket in Thailand, which is now known as Laguna Phuket, and it was an abandoned tin mine. And I think they fell in love with the land, and they had these lakes that were very, very blue, but little did they know, and they'll be able to tell you that it was due to the toxins. So they got the land at a very, very good deal, they say. And unfortunately, it was declared unbuildable. But rather than take that challenge, and I think that's the great thing about, KP and Claire, is that it's not, whenever they get faced with these obstacles where people have said no, sort of like traditional no, they always find a way around it, or they break down that barrier. So they managed to turn it around from, an environmental disaster to, a beautiful sanctuary where it is right now. And like you rightly said, the Banyan Tree did not have beach access. So people will consider, how do you make a luxury resort if you don't have beach access? So they said, okay, we'll put pools in all our villas. We'll build spa around it. We'll mix, everything was new and different at the time. And, very, very pioneering, I would say. And they still look to do it. I mean, of course, flattery, they say being copied is the best form of flattery. A lot of properties, look very, very similar these days, but they're still trying to break the mold. We're opening up a new property in Bali, which is all the villas. There's no doors. It's all open air villas and open air villa experience.
Cool.
Looks absolutely stunning. Invited to stay and experience it. Unfortunately, unable to travel to do so, but look forward to hearing about it. But again, it's sort of that continuous, they're always looking to see and change it and evolve.
And there are something like 50 properties already in the Banyan Tree Group worldwide right now?
Correct. I think KP's and Claire's vision of the group, and now, obviously being led by the family members and the committee, they've always talked about having a pearl necklace around the world, and or a string of pearls around the world. So we have us all in these beautiful spots, and I think enhanced further by, as our guests are now so much more global than they were maybe 10 or 15 years ago, and the world has really become small thanks to the breakthroughs in air travel, that we want to be able to offer our guests. Previously, if you were a guest in Europe, you'd always be long haul to come and visit Banyan Tree. There was nothing sort of short haul or medium haul. And I think we're going into that direction where we want to be able to offer guests in all parts of the world. If you want to come to a Banyan Tree, there is a long haul destination for you to come. If you want to travel medium haul, there's a medium haul destination, and there's also a short haul for you all. So I think that's the excitement of the future.
Do you have a favorite property? Favorite Banyan Tree property?
I guess you always have to say the one you're in, right?
Well, you're about to leave, so you've kind of got to leave past to choose a couple.
No, I've been, to be honest, I've been very, very blessed with all the properties I've been that I've experienced with Banyan Tree. And I think that everyone offers something that's unique and something that's a little bit different. It would be very, very hard to choose sort of one over the other. But I think they all, as I said, they all offer their beauties. They're all there in their own sanctuaries in their own way.
So tell me, you were born in the Philippines, raised in Hong Kong, and you're Swedish, and we're talking in Kuala Lumpur.
Yeah, exactly. My mother's also English-Irish, just to throw in the mix a little bit more.
Wow. Well, how on earth did you end up running hotels in Asia?
Interestingly enough, I went to business school and not hospitality school. But having grown up in Asia, you always have the romance of travel. You always have so many beautiful hotels and some great service that is being offered, and I was very privileged to see that. So I guess like everyone, that whole sort of the romantic side of dealing with people, and I just love being with people. So I had an opportunity to meet some great industry leaders in the hospitality industry, and they sort of set me straight and they said, look, this is what it is. It's a very challenging environment, but it's equally as rewarding. And if you love travel, and if you love people, and if you love being able to, grant and give experiences, and then this is the industry for you. So I jumped on board.
Absolutely. And you're here at the Banyan Tree and Pavillion. Of course, there's two hotels. I'm actually sitting in the Pavillion right now in Kuala Lumpur talking to you. And it's a really interesting concept, to bring the Banyan Tree, which was traditionally a very high wellness product, in sort of more isolated locations, right into the heart of Kuala Lumpur, and then to have another hotel across the road, the Pavillion. So just talk us through that.
Originally it started with the Banyan Tree as our first project, and with our owners who have been great and supportive, came the opportunity of the Pavillion. And for us, we jumped on board as quickly as we could, because we felt that it allowed us to offer an experience for all guests, regardless of a price point. And I think that's the soul of Banyan Tree. We really want to reach out to everyone. And this gave us a great opportunity to do so. So we have everything on offer for all guests of all life.
And both hotels are 5-star, right?
Indeed, both are 5-star. The service between the two hotels are equal, or we like to hope that they're equal. Our associates, we don't say that you are Pavillion based or you're Banyan Tree based. We try to be fluid, and we go where we're needed to be. And thus, it's the same people between the two hotels. The differentiation is naturally with Banyan Tree. The room sizes are of a larger scale than some of our entry level in the Pavillion. And Pavillion, we have obviously a much larger ballroom, where Banyan Tree is sort of more focused on the serenity and the relaxation.
And for people who haven't been, the location, it has to be the best in Kuala Lumpur, right in the centre of the shopping district.
Indeed, we're very blessed to be linked from the Banyan Tree with a direct access footbridge to the Pavillion Mall, which is the destination mall in Kuala Lumpur. And the Pavillion Hotel is actually located on top of it. So we have actually 3 elevators, 3 direct access to the mall. So we're very blessed. And of course, we're in the golden triangle of KLCC, Bukit Bintang, and us. And so we're within walking distance to parks, a lot of the sort of heritage sites, and of course the KL Tower, and obviously the Petronas Towers. So we have sort of everything within close proximity. So we are very blessed.
I used to live here in Kuala Lumpur, so I do have a soft spot for it. Generally speaking, obviously things have changed dramatically in the last few years, but even prior to that, where were most of the people coming from that stayed at the hotels? Which areas around the world, which countries?
It is a good mix. Obviously, Singapore, China are very large markets for the country. But you get people coming as far afield from the United States, from Europe. It is sort of that melting pot of everywhere and anywhere. Malaysia in general has 3 sort of main cultures, a lot of heritage, a lot of history, and it's just really that's like the melting pot of Southeast Asia. I think it has so much beauty to offer every walk of life. If you want to have beautiful beaches, if you want to have great shopping, if you want to have phenomenal cuisine, if you like rainforests, it's everything and anything is there.
100%. How long have you been in Southeast Asia now?
In Malaysia now, this time, just coming up to 6.5 years. So.
And you're moving on soon, I know, to Thailand, I believe?
Yes. All good things have to come to an end, or a new chapter must begin, and exciting beginnings for us. I've been very fortunate. The group have given me the opportunity to take charge of all of our properties in Laguna Phuket, which is our flagship and obviously the founding properties of the Banyan Tree Group as well. So very excited for that challenge. Looking forward to it. Of course, a little bit of pressure and a little bit of nerves, but it should be all good fun.
So exciting. We came from the Middle East where you won a number of awards. What do you attribute to the success that the Middle East has had during the pandemic? Because a lot of their hotels have just been full. A lot of Europeans have gone there to escape the winter. What do you attribute to that?
I think the Middle East has always been such a great destination because it's sort of almost in the center of it all. It has a lot of great airlines that fly into it. It's a very good hub. You have Emirates, Qatar, but of course, every almost national carrier flies to Dubai or flies to Abu Dhabi or Qatar, Oman. So you have naturally great weather almost 90% of the year round. And with it being such an international travel hub, it's very easy access from all around the world. It's only 5, 6, 7 hours from Europe, 5, 6, 7 hours from Asia, depending where you are. And I think then as a government, they always have something that's going on. There's always something exciting going on in the Middle East. There's something new, whether it's the Dubai Expo that they've just had. Now Qatar has the World Cup. There's always some sort of draw outside of business, of course.
But what hotel were you running there?
I was also with the Banyan Tree in Ras Al Khaimah. We had 2 hotels there. It's the most northern emirate, beautiful property in the desert, and coupled with a property on the beach was sort of around 7 or 8 kilometers different. So we kind of offered that desert experience in the tented villas. And then we had also those who wanted to go on the beach. So it was a great sort of either or a dual stop.
Do you miss it?
I do. To be honest, I miss the Middle East. I think it was very, very nice. It was also, you had such a large, diverse workforce. And I think that's what made it for me a lot of fun. I love culture. I love history. I love learning about, sort of people's origins. I think if we had a lot more understanding in the world I think the world wouldn't be so much conflict as we sort of see these days. And I thought that we were blessed to celebrate so many different, cultural and heritage from all the different backgrounds of all the associates. And I really miss that.
Absolutely. And on a positive note, again, how do you see the future of luxury travel changing?
I think for the immediate future, I think a lot of people will be doing more short haul travels or medium haul travels before the long haul comes back to that confidence. I think people will go where they feel confident. I think one of the beautiful things about, again, trying to focus on the positive is that in almost every country who's had some form of lockdown, and when people have been able to travel, they've traveled within the country. And I think a lot of people are now getting to experience their own country and the beauty that their own countries have. And I think that'll take more pride in the people of the nation, so that when international visitors come, they'll have a greater experience because more people will be able to, explain more about their own countries and the things that they've experienced or the local touches. Because sometimes when you arrive as a tourist, you can, tick all the tourist boxes, but it's really when you sort of go down and you experience some of the local things that you off the beaten track. And I think more people and more off the beaten track experiences are out there now. So I think that's what's going to sort of drive people to have these great experiences.
Yeah, I do tend to agree. And how about you personally? I mean, you haven't been able to travel for a while. Do you normally travel in luxury? Do you go to the same places every year? What are your travel habits?
Have been able to travel for a while. I think my first travel, which is actually going to be shortly in around 3 weeks' time, will be home to Sweden to spend time with my family, my loved ones. And from that, I think maybe obviously a couple of short trips within Europe, because I haven't experienced Europe so much, especially in the last few years. But really, it's just to sort of get home and be home for a while. I think that'll be for me. That'll be very, very good.
I totally understand.
But apart from that, like pre-COVID, I love to go to, like I mentioned earlier, I love new cultures. I love new experiences. I'm very blessed with my family, who are also very willing to sort of go on these sort of little short trips. And in Southeast Asia or in Asia in general, we're now blessed with, so much flight connectivity that you don't have to sort of do that as traditional, where do we go for Easter or summer or Christmas breaks, vacations with the children. It's more, there's a couple public holidays. Can we get away for a long weekend? Can we experience it? And so anywhere that we can get to, preferably by the beach. So
yes, wonderful. And being European, what do you see as the difference between European and Southeast Asian 5-star hotels?
I think modernity to an extent. I think that the traditional 5-star hotels in Europe, they don't often rebuild or build greenfield 5-stars. That they're in some of the capital cities. Yes, now there are a lot of new 5-star properties that are come up, so you can sort of see the similarities to where it was in Asia. But I think Asia was Asia grew so quickly and developed in the 80s, 90s, and still does. As you experience here in Kuala Lumpur, you can see how many construction sites and how many buildings are being built up. So there's so much more new infrastructure, so much more technology in the rooms, how the rooms are built, how they're designed for the guest in mind, whether it's a city property or a business hotel, or whether it's more for a leisure property and a leisure hotel, the touches in the room. Whereas I think in Europe, there's a lot more historical buildings. So whilst they're being refurnished and revamped, they're quite limited, which is also a beautiful thing because it is a contrast. And I think that is the great aspect, that you have a lot of historical buildings and a lot of maybe perhaps smaller boutique properties. Whereas now in Asia, there's the 5, 6, 7, 800 key properties as they go along.
Yeah, absolutely. And something I've always wanted to ask a hotel GM, how does it work in terms of when you get moved? Do you ask to get moved to another location, or does a location come up and lots of the GMs fight to go there? How does it work?
I think if there's an ideal location, there's probably going to be a lot of fighting. It's a lot of mix. I think the one thing that within our industry is that we always say you never can tell. Prior to this assignment with Banyan Tree, I think my longest assignment was 3 years. My shortest was 9 months. It's all about opportunity. I think if there's a need somewhere and the corporate offices or they have you in mind, they'll probably speak to you and say, look, we have this coming up. Would you be interested in it? And also to see how long you've been in your existing property, how well you're doing, the relations with owners. It's before, I think hotel organizations could just move sort of people left, right, and center at any time. Now there's owners have a lot more influence in it as well, and owners' relations, ensure that you can maintain that consistency. But I think also if you as an individual, you also need to, like I tell my associates here, please don't ever expect something like a promotion or a transfer to fall on your lap. You also need to have that hunger and that desire to look for it and want to grow and want to develop yourself. And so I think if they have, all hotels have a pipeline of properties coming up. And if there's something that excites you in that, I think that as a GM or even as whichever level of staff you're in, you should go out and, raise your hand and say, hey, look, there's this opportunity here. And also don't be afraid to take that opportunity. I joined Banyan Tree in the Seychelles. It was my first Banyan Tree property back in 2003. And, I grew up in Hong Kong and the Philippines. And so I'd never been to a sort of small little island in the middle of the Indian Ocean. And, then from there, we got transferred to the Maldives, and then from there to Dubai, and then from Dubai to, it's that all aspect. Like for me, it's always be willing to try if that opportunity suits you and your family. Of course,
you're really lucky you have such a supportive family, because I can imagine it was not easy living on those islands, like, Maldives, Seychelles, they're very isolated.
Definitely. But that's also part of the fun. It's also part of the experience. I think my youngest daughter, when we moved to the Seychelles the second time, as my first GM posting, we were moved from Bangkok. She was, I think, 3 years old, and that was the 5th country she lived in. So, but since then we stabilized a lot more. I think when they're younger, they're much more easy to travel with. Obviously, schooling as they get older, schooling becomes a lot more important. So, yeah. And of course, like you said, as I mentioned, without my family, I'm nothing. I think the first thing, anytime I've ever had an opportunity that comes, the first thing I do is ask my wife, would you like to go here? And if she says no, then that's okay. Yeah. And she's like, here, then we can explore. Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a fantastic life, and it sounds very exciting. And as you know, I have twins myself, and I just think the more that children can travel, the more of the world they can see. I think it's a really positive thing. And I also think that with COVID and the pandemic, we've learned that education is a lot more flexible than perhaps we thought before that.
Very much so, very much so. I think everyone's sort of become a master of the homeschooling, and the Zoom meetings is sort of becoming the new norm, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's just a real mind shift in so many areas. But look, I've loved talking to you, Anders, and I would love to ask you the question that I ask everyone that we speak to: where to from here for you, today or in the future?
Today, obviously, I'm going from here to a lunch with our executive committee. We do this every second week. We try to have it as an informal meeting so that we can discuss challenges and opportunities within the hotels. But then I have a half day off, so I will be going off because I have a friend who's turning 50 today.
Oh,
so wonderful. I have to go and celebrate with him.
Fantastic. What are you doing for that? Are you going away, or a big lunch or dinner? Or
no, we're going to have a barbecue en masse, I believe. So original plan was to go with a few of us to go on the motorcycles and ride off to a restaurant, but I think we all got wifed. So it's barbecue and.
You got wifed? I've never heard that expression. Which country does that come from? Wifed?
Please don't use that one. Huh?
I think that's great. Well, look, it's wonderful to speak with you. It's also wonderful to be staying in your beautiful hotels. Thank you for having me. And yeah, and hopefully I'll see you in your new role in a short while in Thailand.
Please, you're welcome anytime, and we look forward to having you there as well.
Thank you so much, Anders. Have a great day.
Pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your stay.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Don't forget to subscribe here and follow us on Instagram and Facebook for regular travel updates. You can also hear our episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.